I want to see my bald head on this. Right here, we get an iPad tool in and gently work the adhesive up as we go. Again, this is with no heat gun. And there is a cable right under the glass. It's attached, probably for the home button switch. Just with a little bit of pressure, the adhesive seems to be releasing. Digitizer cable is held in the lower left-hand side, and the digitizer is very, very, very small on this new model. Next, you'll see that there are a series of Phillips head screws, which is very different from the first gen iPad. They used Torx T5 screws. So it looks like there are screws on each side of the LCD. It appears there may be 4 altogether. My guess is that the connector is also going to be on the left-hand side. And it is lifting. And there is the slightly different lock bar system for, can you get in here? For the LVDS cable. Good. So use a small tool and just gently lift that lock bar up. It feels like it has a little bit more pull for it. So once you lift the lock bar up, you can slide the cable out and lift the LCD up out of the way. And over here looks like are the 2 digitizer cables. It looks like your digitizer clips on one side are blocked by a shield. So remove these 2 Phillips head screws. And then remove the small metal shield here. We're going to gently lift up the 2 clips for the digitizer. So we're going to do it gently. And slide the digitizer cable out of its socket. And the digitizer cable is actually adhered to the logic board. The next thing I'll look at here is the front-facing camera. It looks like it's got a cable that runs over here and probably a connector. Another controller board for what feels like the headphone jack. And that all looks like it's all controlled together right here on this socket. So we'll lift this cable up and see what we can do. Again, the cable is adhered. So gently slide something underneath the cable to loosen it from the back case and slide it out. This is the Wi-Fi model. I suspect that the 3G module is going to be on this side on the 3G devices. For the headphone board, I'm going to take the two Phillips head screws that are in here and here and pull those out. This cable lifts. That whole assembly is sliding. It feels like there are two connectors. So it looks like you need to slide a flat tool in between this cable and the back of the camera and then gently lift up. It looks like everything is still just adhesive, holding it all in place. And your front-facing camera, headphone board module are removed. The next is going to be the dock connector and what looks like Wi-Fi antenna. There's a piece of tape going over this connection. So I'm going to loosen the tape up a little bit. And if I get enough to get my fingers on, peel it up and lift this connector out of its socket. Again, it's underneath a speaker connection. The well-known slot on the back of the iPads that everyone's worried about is the grill, which now only has one speaker assembly right here. There are again two Phillips head screws and the dock connector, one over on this side and one on this side. Looks like everything's done with the Phillips so far. The dock connector slides right out of socket, no problem. It's got a nice bevel on the edge of it to fit the form of the iPad. Next, I'm going to take the screws out for the antenna. And that screw looks like it held a grommet. I'm going to lift up the cable. There goes the speaker. The speaker is probably adhered in place. It looks like it wraps around the edge here. So I'll remove this last screw. And see what slides out here. Stop. So in order to get the speaker out, it looks like there's a battery holding that all in place. So to get to that, we'll have to take the logic board out first. So I'm going to come to this other connector. It looks like an LVDS connector. It runs between the battery here, the cells. It goes to this controller board, which looks like it holds the volume rocker switch, which is here, the mute/hold switch, and the power button. All of those are going. This isn't a mute hold, this is a mute orientation lock switch. And then it looks like the controller board controls the camera that's in the back right here. And that may be why it uses the LVDS connection. Also interesting to note, on the iPad, I don't see any magnets on this side, but you do see the magnets down here for their special case. So we're going to lift this cable connector up. I like the quality of these cable connectors so much more than the older style. They just seem to do a little bit better. I'm going to take the screws out that are holding the logic board in place. Again, with Apple, smaller is better. Presumably the A5 chip is underneath one of these heat shields, as is the RAM, which seems to be the question of the day. How much RAM do we have? I also noticed that all of the screws seem to be more or less the same size all the way across the board. So there's something else holding this in place. It could be some adhesive and a battery connector. The question is, which way does this go? Since it looks like this connector here, you can zoom in here. If you look on the side, it looks like it's actually soldered on the board. I'm going to guess the board is probably laying right on the battery connector. So it should be just adhesive holding up this from sliding right out. So we'll get gently under the board and pry, and up she comes. Now I take out the antenna as well, which is connected by a standard BNC connection on the bottom. Looks like there's a secondary BNC connection on the bottom as well, possibly for the 3G antenna. And that is your logic board. Now the battery, which feels very much like the first gen iPad, but they're so much smaller. Feels like it's just being held in place by some adhesive. So I'm going to pry this battery carefully. It just seems a little flimsy there. And lift it up out of place. So now we have the cable left, speaker assembly, and the switches. And this looks like it's going to be the microphone. Try sliding this out first, seeing what we have to hold it in place. There's some tape right here. There's underneath the battery. And the speaker, once you've wiggled it, will come right out of its socket. Next, I'm going to take out the screws, the remaining screws that are left in the iPad here. Again, Phillips head screws, holding connectors in place. Notice that in the orientation lock hold switch, or mute switch, the screws are a little bit longer. And it looks like there's a small EMI shield, similar to what's found in the iPhone 4. These have several small, thin cables. So you want to be very gentle as you pull these up so as not to tear. I'm going to gently work this cable over the lip. Oh, I missed one more screw right here. There's a foam cover, and yet another set of screws holding this in place for the camera. The rear-facing camera looks like it's designed much like its iPhone 4 counterpart with a little connector. And then the connector for the camera is just like in the iPhone 4. It looks like a small connector here at the bottom, a little bit of prying, and it will loosen. You should be able to lift the camera completely out of its socket there. And there's the camera, smaller than Steve promised. So now, there is still a daughter board, some more cabling to be removed, and a microphone. Let's see if this metal plate here, and this may be the magnet that's tied to the reed switch, because it looks like this has a cable under it because there's one here down at the bottom as well. This daughter board is adhered with similar double-sided adhesive like they use for a speaker in the iPhone or the iPad first one. It's just gently sliding out of its connectors. And the connector holds everything in place, comes up from the board and wraps around here, so you should be able to disconnect it from right here on the daughter board. Looks like it's a small piece of tape that wraps around it. So it looks like this cable is all connected to this daughter board with a little piece of tape holding the socket in place. So the edge goes right over the edge of that daughter board. You want to be very careful as you peel the tape up. And in true Apple style, they have immensely secured this. I'm using a small pair of tweezers to grab and unwrap the tape. And I can use the edge of these tweezers to lift that out of its socket. And it looks like I should be able to release this daughter board just like so. Now, gently peel this cable. Be, again, very careful with these cables because they tear at the drop of a hat. Hold switch, volume rocker, microphone, and just poke the switch in. There's your hold switch assembly. And of course, the hold switch itself. And that leaves you iPad 2 empty case.